Today, we're going to completely throw out everything you thought you knew about weight loss. Seriously, we are looking way past the fads and the frustration to uncover the actual holistic science of how your body stores and, more importantly, burns stubborn belly fat. Let's kick things off with a massive fitness myth. We've all seen those late-night infomercials, right? The ones promising that if you just buy this one gadget or do 1,000 crunches a day, you'll magically carve out six-pack abs. But stop and ask yourself, can you actually exercise a specific part of your body to burn the fat directly on top of it? The short answer? No way. According to the experts at the National Strength and Conditioning Association, spot reduction is literally a complete myth. When you do endless crunches, sure, you might use a tiny bit of intramuscular fat for energy, but your body definitely does not preferentially pull the visible fat right from your stomach. So that late-night marketing, yeah, it's totally misleading. Instead of doing crunches until you're blue in the face, we really have to look at genetics. Fat distribution is highly genetic and multifactorial. Basically, your body generally falls into distinct categories. For instance, you might have a genoid or pear-shaped pattern, where fat is predominantly stored down in the hips and thighs. Or you might have an android, apple-shaped pattern, where your body prefers to store fat right in the trunk and abdominal regions. You can't just tell your body where to pull fat from first, but you absolutely can control the overall environment to lose it. Now, let's talk about the danger of visceral fat. Since we can't magically target fat with localized exercises, we've got to focus on the real culprit holding you back. And to do that, we have to differentiate the types of fat. Visceral fat isn't that soft, pinchable fat on your stomach. It is a dangerous, hidden fat stored way deep inside, wrapping tightly around your internal, vital organs. And this specific type of fat is highly metabolically active in the worst possible way. It acts as a major risk factor for cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. So what fuels this hidden fat? Well, it mostly comes down to our daily dietary choices. Things like trans fats, which, by the way, are often hiding in plain sight as partially hydrogenated oils, are directly linked to inflammation and insulin resistance. Add in sugar-sweetened beverages loaded with fructose and refined carbs, and you literally have a recipe for visceral fat accumulation. Oh, and of course, heavy alcohol consumption plays a massive role here too. To put a spotlight on alcohol specifically, there was this massive UK study analyzing the Oxford Biobank cohort, and they found a totally clear dose-response relationship between drinking and dangerous belly fat. Men in the highest alcohol quartile, meaning they were consuming 17 to 98 units a week, carried over 10% more visceral fat compared to lighter drinkers. It turns out the infamous beer belly is biologically very real, and it specifically targets your midsection, entirely regardless of your overall weight. Which brings us to another huge factor: how sleep impacts your weight. Look, diet and exercise are really only part of the equation. We also have to look at the hidden lifestyle factors that silently sabotage weight loss. Staring at a screen in bed, it isn't just a bad habit. When light enters your eyes at night, it communicates directly with your brain's hypothalamus to halt the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone. So you aren't just losing rest, you are actually setting yourself up for metabolic failure the very next day. And that is a stark contrast to waking up in a hormonally balanced, refreshed state. And that brings us to a really staggering number: 9%. A major study revealed that for every single hour of sleep you miss below the recommended 7 hours, your risk of obesity goes up by 9%. Think about that for a second. If you consistently sleep just 5 hours a night, you are actively fighting a massive uphill battle against your own biology just to maintain your current weight. And here's exactly why that happens. Sleep deprivation essentially creates absolute hormonal chaos in your body. It causes a sharp spike in ghrelin, that's the hormone that signals hunger, while simultaneously suppressing leptin and GLP-1, which are the hormones that signal fullness and tell your brain, hey, I'm satisfied. Men often see a massive increase in ghrelin, while women tend to see a sharp drop in those fullness signals. To make matters even worse, lack of sleep actively alters your brain's reward centers, leaving you ravenous and specifically craving highly processed carbohydrates and fats. Okay, let's look at stress, cortisol, and cravings. If sleep deprivation wasn't enough to derail your goals, it's got a partner in crime: chronic stress. When you are stressed out, your hypothalamus keeps cortisol, the stress hormone, continuously elevated. It acts like this internal alarm clock that just never shuts off. Under normal, healthy conditions, it drops at night so you can actually sleep, but constant stress keeps it pumping. And this elevated cortisol actively drives fat storage straight to your abdomen, all while making you crave high-sugar, high-fat junk foods. So, what you really should take away from this is a total perspective shift. Managing your stress and protecting your sleep, they aren't just trendy wellness buzzwords. They are non-negotiable biological requirements to lose visceral fat. If your cortisol is constantly elevated and your sleep is totally wrecked, no amount of dieting in the world is going to override your body's survival mechanism to store fat.
All right, let's shift gears to NEAT and smart movement.
Let's talk solutions, and I mean beyond just killing yourself in the gym for an hour a day. Enter NEAT, which stands for Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis. We spend about 110 to 115 hours a week, right? Well, NEAT accounts for all the calories you burn simply living your life outside of structured workouts. We're talking things like fidgeting, walking to the car, doing chores around the house. To put the sheer power of NEAT into perspective, consider this. Simply performing your standard office job, standing up instead of sitting down, burns an extra 18,000 calories over a 50-week work year. That equates to burning over 5 pounds of fat without a single trip to the gym or even breaking a sweat. It just goes to show how totally devastating sitting all day is to our metabolism. You can radically increase your NEAT through incredibly small, simple daily choices. You just have to think creatively. Pace the room while you're talking on the phone. Carry your groceries to the car instead of pushing a cart. Wash your car by hand on the weekend, or actually, scratch the email and just walk over to your coworker's desk. These tiny increments absolutely add up to massively boost your daily calorie burn. And finally, when you do dedicate time to structured exercise, please skip those useless crunches. If you really want a strong midsection, focus on functional anti-rotation core movements, things like the bird dog, active planks, glute bridges, and dead bugs. These movements require your core to stabilize your spine against movement, transferring energy efficiently and protecting your lower back, which, by the way, is exactly what your core is biologically designed to do in the first place. Understanding how sleep, stress, and your daily movement affect your hormones, it literally changes absolutely everything about how we approach weight loss. It's not about starvation or endless crunches. It is all about hormonal balance. Which leaves us with one incredibly important question to reflect on today. When you look at your daily habits, are you fighting your biology or are you fueling it?